Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, folks. 7 o'clock. Council, the second item is approval of the agenda. You've had it for a few days. Anybody make such a motion? Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Tower, the adoption of the agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Open to questions from the floor. Any questions?
Yes, Your Worship, I have a question. I'd like to know why you called me a liar. You said that I made false statements, which would make me a liar. And I'd like to know where you got your facts, because you never even heard what went on out in the hallway, and you weren't here, and I want to know why you called me a liar.
I never mentioned any names whatsoever. I never called anybody a liar. I took responsibility for not challenging some things that were not accurately portrayed. I did not cite anybody. I said the responsibility was me to engage when we make some decisions, and when we can see things, we should try to correct them. And that role, it falls to me.
My name is mentioned here, and
Not in the tape, not in what I said, no.
well, why does everybody think I am a liar?
I don't know who wrote your name down, not me. What are you reading from?
There's one transcript here from where you done an apology and so on to Mr. Burke, and you upheld him and everything that went on, but yet you weren't even out there. You don't even know what went on. I seen the pictures you were talking about, the surveillance camera. I'd like to see it again.
We could arrange for that. I think there are some in the community that would like to see that. If you're willing to do that, we can publicly do that.
Yeah, because when I told you fellas that I was fed up and I didn't want an apology, and now you stir it all up again, and I'd like to know why.
And we can do that. We can show the public the tape, and we can have the deputy mayor talk about what the process was and what the conclusions were, and you will have an opportunity to explain why you think that's those results are not the same.
I want to see that.
Okay, so we'll get in touch with you. We'll set up a public time where we can put the tape out and people can see it and make their own choices.
You're still not telling me why that you brought my name into all this.
No, I said I did not. You haven't told me who you're reading from, because I did not say that.
You're quite smooth. I say you're quite smooth.
Well, I appreciate that we got that corrected. I did not say any names, and unfortunately other people did, but it wasn't me. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
There's enough in the newspapers that pointing to me, as well as Percy Best. And I'd like to know why you done it now.
Well, I thought I explained that, but we'll give you an opportunity, give the community an opportunity to see that tape. Any other questions? Hearing none. We move on to disclosures of interest. Complex agenda, any disclosures of interest? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be recusing myself for the vote on the BIA levy. And since several people have asked me why I'm doing it, earlier on in our term here, I wasn't recusing myself for this, but after we had a session with our lawyer about conflict of interest, and after my wife bought the building that houses her store, we moved from gray area into, well, a lot darker gray area. And so I decided at that point, which is about 2 or 3 years ago, to start recusing myself from this, so that's why I'm doing it.
Okay, thank you. On that same manner, people have asked me, but my business is actually outside of the BIA, so I don't feel there's a conflict for myself. So, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Worship. It was brought to my attention over the last few days that possibly I am in a conflict of interest. Again, I think it's a gray area when it comes to the BIA. However, I don't want perception to be that I am influencing in any way. So out of respect for those individuals and respect for the process, I will excuse myself at that point in time.
For the
as well.
BIA as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other conflicts arising? No? Okay, thank you all. And we move to minutes. Regular meeting of November 12 on page 3. There are adjustments to the minutes. You've all had that circulated. So we're talking about the adjusted minutes. You're moving acceptance.
Adopted meeting for the minutes for the regular meeting on November 12th.
Moved by Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Black.
As amended.
As amended, right? Question? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting of November 18th. As amended. Moved by Councillor Tower to accept as amended, seconded by Councillor Evans. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. December 2, page 12 in your package. Councillor O'Neill moves adoption. Councillor Evans seconds the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And December 3rd, meeting, special meeting on page 15 of your package. Moved by Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Evans. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Hearing none. Southeast Regional Services, we did have a meeting this month, and most of it was to do with the final elements of the Regional Service Commission's budget. A couple of other people will speak about some of the key ones. There was a 72-hour preparedness sheet, which I will leave with council, that is being finalized in terms of emergency measures. And I'll leave that for the council room. There is a rebate of a little over $4,000 coming back to the council from the RDMO budget because of the nature of how that unfolded this year. And there was a interesting discussion over the Local Governance and Taxation Subcommittee, which I sit on, but I was unable to attend that last meeting. But the quantitative analysis of the local government and the tax base and what property tax room there might be if the provincial government was to change that was discussed at a brief amount. And it does look rather promising that this part of the province is really well prepared for any municipal reform, particularly property tax room, and stand to do fairly well if that is the case. And the Regional Service Commission is now considering whether there might be a regional specific option for trying for some types of municipal reform because of the validity of the underlying fiscal situation in this area, that we may be the right place to try alternative governance, particularly for the LSDs. So, Deputy Mayor, you were there as well. Anything to add to that?
No, I covered.
Okay, thank you. So,
why we're getting almost the $4,000 back? What was it they did do or didn't do?
you will recall that the Regional Destination Marketing Organization was based upon a regional levy to hotels. And the request to the province was that we create a structure that allowed regional levies to be consistently applied, and one method of gathering that money, so kind of like an HST. You all have to pay the same amount wherever that is at. It's centralized and then dispersed to however it was. So we wanted to have an RDMO levy across the region in whatever was places that people would stay, and they would be defined in that act. But what the province did was empower individual municipalities to set and gather and apply their own levies. So they could be all over the map. And most of the smaller municipalities like ourselves would then have to enforce that, pass a bylaw, gather the money, and send it to the regional destination marketing organization. It didn't make any sense. So what's happened is only Moncton has applied a levy because they have by far the most hotels, and they are collecting that levy. And so it's only a partially funded. It doesn't work for regional destination marketing, it's working for Moncton. And Moncton is more than willing to move into a regional structure if that structure is changed. But right now, they're doing what they can with that and trying to use that money to advance their regional tourism. So because that money did not come in, the money that had already been applied for in the budget, we had anticipated some of that, and the full budget which was the same as last year, was to come in. Some of that money didn't get spent last year. So we zero budgeted next year for everybody in a regional destination, and we are getting back some of the unspent money from last year, which is just over $4,000. So we're still hoping we can revive it if the province will give the authority on a different basis for a hotel levy and a regional destination marketing organization. Okay. Any other questions on the report? None, then we move to planning. Ms. Bickford, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. In the month of November, there were 3 permits issued. This brought our year-to-date total to 61 permits at a construction value of $5.9 million. During the month of November, there were no applications that were reviewed by the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee. But other projects that were worked on, the Southeast Regional Service Commission does have a Planning Review and Adjustment Committee bylaw that they operate under. And within that, they imposed 3 changes to that bylaw. One being imposing a fee on holding special meetings. So this is outside the regular scheduled meetings. There would be a fee now that's charged on top of the application to cover the cost of the meeting, as well as the addition of a future location being added for the use of the solid waste facilities when the new building gets built out there for our meetings. And also just clarifying the role of the committee when it comes to public engagement. So for instance, when they're doing a views and recommendations, that's not the opportunity for the public to be engaging with that committee. That opportunity would be with councils during the public hearing stage. So that just got spelled out a little clearer in the bylaw. The other thing we did in the month was there was a joint session held for all the Planning Review and Adjustment Committees and the Planning Advisory Committees in the Southeast region. So it was kind of a joint session between Dieppe, Riverview, Moncton, and the Southeast Regional Service Commission. And during that session, they called in the chair of the appeals board, who presented on the actual roles of the board and what they're looking for. As well as they invited in Matt Hayes with McGuinness and Cooper, and he presented on procedural fairness, natural justice, bias, and conflict of interest for the committee members. As well, tonight will be, there's motions coming forward for first and second reading of the Municipal Plan Bylaw Amendment 24B and the Zoning Bylaw 244I. That's the proposal by the Laffords for the rezoning and redesignation of the properties at the end of Wright Street, as well as second and third reading of Bylaw 270, which is the amended and proposed new subdivision bylaw for the town of Sackville. And that's it, if there's any questions.
Any questions on the report, the planning report? Hearing none, you have other items?
Deputy Mayor Aiken, will that be doing Deputy Mayor Aiken?
All right. I move that council give first reading in name only to bylaw number 243B, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 243, Town of Sackville Municipal Plan bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Tower. Do you wish to speak to it further, or is it open? It's open for discussion. Question?
Question.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move that council give second reading, section by section, to bylaw number 243B, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 243, Town of Sackville Municipal Plan bylaw. Bylaw number 243B, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 243, Town of Sackville Municipal Plan. The council of the Town of Sackville, under the authority vested in it by section 24 and in accordance with section 111 of the Community Planning Act, amends bylaw number 243, the Town of Sackville Municipal Plan, and enacts as follows. Number 1, bylaw number 243, the Town of Sackville Municipal Plan, is amended by changing the designation as shown on the future land use map figure 2 of the Town of Sackville Municipal Plan for a portion of the property identified as PID number 00891721, as shown on Schedule A attached hereto and forming part hereof, from highway commercial to urban residential.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Tower. Open for comment. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move the council give first reading in name only to bylaw number 244I, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 244, Town of Sackville zoning bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Black. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move that council give second reading, section by section, to bylaw number 244I, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 244, Town of Sackville zoning bylaw. Bylaw number 244I, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 244, Town of Sackville zoning bylaw. The council of the Town of Sackville, under the authority vested in it by section 53 and in accordance with section 59 of the Community Planning Act, SNB 2017, Chapter 19, amends bylaw number 244, the Town of Sackville zoning bylaw, and enacts as follows. Number 1, bylaw number 244 is amended by adding the following text to Part 11, Section 11.1A, permitted uses in the urban residential area, urban residential 3 R3 zone, Part 10, senior/nursing home complex. Bylaw number 244 is amended by changing the zoning as shown on the zoning map figure 1 of the Town of Sackville zoning bylaw for a portion of the property identified as PID 00891721, as shown on Schedule A attached hereto and forming part hereof, from highway commercial HC to urban residential 3 R3. Bylaw number 244 is further amended by changing the zoning as shown on the zoning map figure 1 of the Town of Sackville zoning bylaw for the property identified as PID 700465511, as shown on Schedule A attached hereto and forming part hereof, from urban residential 1 R1 to urban residential 2 R2.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Evans. Open for discussion. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move that the council give second reading, section by section, to bylaw number 270, Town of Sackville subdivision bylaw. Bylaw number 270, a bylaw relating to the subdivision of lands in the Town of Sackville. Section 1, definitions. Section 2, scope. Section 3, classes of subdivisions. Section 4, land for public purposes. Section 5, municipal services and facilities. Section 6, streets. Section 7, subdivision agreement. Section 8, lot sizes and widths. Section 9, reserve strips. Section 10, procedure and fees. Section 11, repealed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Black. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 270, Town of Sackville subdivision bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. That is it. That is it for Regional Services Commission. And we go to reports. Sorry, I did not send this out quicker. Send it that way. I'm not sure there's enough. So, Mayor's report is being circulated. As a note, I had no media involvement this month at all. Rotary Bridge, of course, the Carl Ward Hockey Tournament, did a welcome in the brochure for that. While I was in Halifax, I met KBRS just to see where they were at. That was in advance of the meeting when they came up here following that. That was an opportunity for us just to talk about the context of the contract. I also ran into the CN contact who had attended the press conference here when they gave us the second set of trees. She happened to be in an event that I was at, so we had a good chat about where things were with CN and UMNB and a couple of other items. Once again, got a message to the mayor of Sackville who turns out to be Sackville, Nova Scotia again. It's always interesting to tell them they don't actually have a mayor. They are in a different form of government, and that they should go to this website to figure out who they really want to talk to. So I've reported on that several times over the last couple of years. It's obviously just a quick search for the Sackville mayor, and it comes here. The apartment waste collection pilot that I spoke about last month has moved ahead a little bit, and we're looking at technical meetings with haulers about how they might participate in such a pilot, and perhaps broadening it a little bit bigger than we had originally thought to get up to enough tonnage that makes sense as a real pilot for all the parties involved. So that's continuing to move along for multiple apartments. I did meet with Mike Fox on a variety of things, including where the age-friendly committee was sitting at, what the community-supported education was at, and opportunities perhaps for the farmers market were all topics of that day. As most of you might know, I was contacted by an individual who's contacted me a few times on accessibility questions, and ended up putting her in contact with the Vogue Theatre over the potential for a chair lift assistance in the Vogue, and they're now having a bilateral conversation on that topic. Been approached a couple of times on farmers market by 3 different groups and individuals over what the future of the farmers market might look like and what kind of concepts there were. So there's a lot of interest in how that might evolve. Despite being told last month that the Tantramar Dike study would be announced, we haven't heard anything, and made a couple more inquiries in the last day or so to try to figure out, but no one has any answers where that contract sits. So it's just a wild unknown. We do know that they chose the contractor. We don't know that they have engaged in a contract. Dialogue NB is a reconstruction of a group that has been around a long time. It has a new mandate, which is more about trying to involve all parties in the communities in progressive talks about what how they relate to each other and how the community gets better off when they all talk. The head of Dialogue NB came and spoke to me about the opportunity for us to join. They have a corporate package, they have community packages, they have kind of thematic areas that they're interested in, and they're just starting to push that a little further at this point. I said that in my view, council might be interested, that I would prefer that they came and spoke to council as a whole. There are also some initiatives in town that they should be aware of that might also fit or might help them about what they might suggest in terms of an approach for them to get involved. I mentioned age-friendly and and community development through the market and community-supported education and the relationship with Mount Allison and Mount Allison students, all part of what they see as part of their mandate. So with your, I'll circulate the material if I haven't already. I meant to send you the electronic version of their latest document. If I haven't done that, I'll do that. And maybe after you've seen that, we should consider whether we should invite them to come to council to talk. Also in this room, we met a rural and small town class in an afternoon, which spoke about their semester-long examination of some of the development questions around the community. Whether they're, many of the things we talked about, they talked about age-friendly, they talked about Mount Allison community relationship, they talked about the education impact study done by over the summer with the intern who was working with me. They had a lot of ideas of how that worked on a larger scale. They also linked into the Engage program and the creation of entrepreneurship in grade 5s and 6s and what that might mean for a new economy. And that was really their focus, was that the challenge of the future is going to be how small rural towns can participate in the tertiary, quaternary type of economy that is quickly emerging. And they felt that there was lots of opportunities, particularly with the business strategy that we've adopted, that this a different approach could be very successful. So it was a very interesting discussion. And again, work done by Mount Allison within a kind of experiential learning, which helps the community in so many fronts. I did note that I've been traveling a bit on my work, and at the Montreal airport, I ran into Mount Allison president, and I also ran into a senior staff person from the Wildlife Service in town, so I had two separate conversations on a variety of topics in the Mount Allison airport between flights. Very interesting. And I did drop into Culligan Water, and I dropped into Fog Forest as part of my just dropping into businesses to see how things are going. Quite good chats there about what their interests are in the future, what they see needing to happen in our business strategy. Council got a copy of the letter written to me about from the Hospital Auxiliary, which is interested in creating some local hospice space, and was hoping the budget would not include a grant to the hospice in Moncton, which it does not. Curb cuts, there's particularly one that was flagged by a person recently. The curb cut was icing up and felt to be dangerous, but I appreciate that staff have now addressed that. And I'll leave the veteran banners because it's in another report, but it was quite an interesting, that it has a national profile, some of our local work in the veterans banners. So that's, sorry for the report, just added to it moments ago when I came in. I forgot to send it around before we sat. So, any questions on it? Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Worship. This came up during our budget deliberations, and you've mentioned here again in regards to the chairlift at the Vogue and accessibility. And I'm just wondering, about making accessibility more of a priority with the municipality, and if the council would consider moving something forward within staff to say, okay, let's look at this and maybe put a formal group in place that would look at accessibility in regards to at least our municipal properties and access those folks who struggle with accessibility every day. And I think it's an important factor, something that maybe we're aware of, but maybe don't incorporate as much as maybe we should. So I'm just, where it's been raised, I just kind of like to, again, reiterate the fact that I think it's an important piece that we should look at, and I'm not sure where we go from here, but.
No, I'm glad you raised it. We had that I had that conversation with Jean-Paul in the Montreal airport, saying, how are you going to adapt your physical infrastructure to modern accessibility standards? I said, we don't know, but we're committed to doing it. So that's going to be a huge challenge for them. As we've talked about a couple of times, I do think the age-friendly is probably the best place for us to get advice over how accessibility, whether it's integral to that structure or whether there is another need for another item. So I take your point well, and I think we should talk about that age-friendly structure and then determine whether that adequately fulfills what you'd like to see for the accessibility. Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? We then move to the CAO's report, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. My report's on page 22 in the package, and just highlight or comment briefly. The budget process in 2020 was well reviewed and discussed in various meetings over the past several months, and so that's for Council's consideration here this evening. I won't go into the details and preempt anybody that may want to offer greater comments on that later, but I will take a moment just to thank the Treasurer and the finance staff as well as our department heads and their diligence in managing the town's budgets throughout the year and working towards the 2020 position, which I believe is very good, in very good stead. 2019, we're getting close to wrapping up our year end there, and I'm pleased again that the Treasurer is concluded that we're looking forward to again another successful year financially, and again I won't go into the details, but by year end it's projected that we'll have a modest surplus at year end. Just want to make note of the Daniel Lund property being connected to our waterfowl park, which I think is a great addition, and certainly thank the Rotary Club for supporting the town in making the Rotary Bridge a reality, and I think it's getting a fair bit of use already, and it's a great opportunity for our residents to utilize our parks facilities. And as you'll note in the package, we've got a lot of motions on tonight, so I'll leave it at that. Unless there's any questions, Your Worship.
Questions on the CAO report? Hearing none. Move to Finance and Admin. Deputy Mayor, are you doing a report?
Yes, Your Worship. First of all, I'll move that Council accept the bills and payroll for the month of November 2019 as follows. General Government, $659,060.94. General Capital, $332,294.43. Utility Government, $116,558.47. Utility Capital, $13.80. And salaries, $193,935.65.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Tower. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
The report for the Finance and Administration appears on page 25 of the package. And I'll apologize in advance. You're going to be hearing a lot of me tonight. 2019 financial statements are included to the end of November 2019. Estimates have been projected to the end of the year for all accounts within our accounting system, with a recommendation that we take $225,000 out of the General Capital Reserve Fund to pay for Lawrence Street Phase 2 expenses. Overall, 2019 has been a very good year with excess revenue over budget of $121,000, which is mostly made up from grants totaling $88,000 that we received for the Lund Property Bridge and the Lillis Fawcett Playground project. The majority of departments are expected to come in under budget in 2019, with our prediction that overall we will be approximately $260,000 under budget, with the majority coming from public safety expenses coming in lower than expected. Capital budgets are also lower than expected. More detail will come with the 2019 audit. Finally, we are expected to completely deplete our General Capital Reserve Fund with Lawrence Street Phase 2 project, but with the good position we're in for 2019, we'll be able to leave approximately $277,000 available in the fund for future capital works. We are also recommending that the the transfer of $120,000 into the Utility Capital Reserve Fund in accordance with 2019 budget that will go toward planned future lagoon upgrades. With this transfer, the reserve fund will have a balance of approximately $380,000 at the end of fiscal year 2019. The 2020 budget process continued through November and into December. Motions will be forthcoming tonight, approving the 2020 general and utility operating budgets. In addition to this, the allocation of the breakdown for general capital, which will be completely comprised of capital out of revenue for 2020, as well as borrowing authorizations for utility capital, will be presented at this meeting. More details provided in the public budget documents being provided, with some key points being the general operating budget, which includes no tax rate increase, which remains at $1.56. Utility operating budget balanced with a rate increase approved within the 2017-2021 approved rate structure, and the tax base increase of 3.59% to $431,000. A transfer of $289,983.69 has been completed for the gas tax account to the general operating budget to pay for 2019 additional paving projects that were approved related to the one-time top-up funding respecting the gas tax funding for the year 2019. We have been advised by the Regional Service Commission that a partial refunds of funds relating to the Regional Destination Marketing Organization is forthcoming. These funds were not spent in 2018 and 19 in that specific area, so Sackville's portion of the refund is $4,088. Auditors were in during November to complete interim audit work for the fiscal year 2019. Lawrence Street Phase 1 final claim and reports have been approved by the province, and payments of $64,883 were received on December 3rd and $337,195 on December 5th. Phase 1 Lawrence Street infrastructure funding is now closed and finalized. Dog tags for 2020 are now on sale at Town Hall, and proof of rabies vaccinations must be presented at the time of registration. 2020 tags will be on sale for the residents at the regular rate of $20 for a spayed female or neutered male until March 31st, 2020. And finally, the bylaw and animal control statistics for November are attached to the report.
Any questions on the finance report? Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess it's just referencing to the 2019 capital budget, and I'm just wondering if there's some areas there that we seem to have gone over in regards to the capital in particular areas. I know some is probably referencing maybe some grant money that we're going to get, but I'm just kind of wondering, like St. James reconstruction, Bennett reconstruction, sidewalk renewal, fleet upgrade. I'm just wondering if there's some information that could be provided in the fact of those overages, and I presume that those overages are being covered off somewhere else within the capital budget. Is that right?
Mr. Beal, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm on page 30 of the report, and St. James and Bennett is over budget. University will be under budget. If you remember at the beginning of 2019, we're going to do St. James Bennett in-house. University through University through a contract. We've reversed that and did St. James and Bennett through the contract, and University through in-house. So St. James and Bennett will have some cost recovery through Phase 1 Lawrence Street. As well, there'll be some money for paving in Bennett Street transferred to the gas tax, which is yet to happen. So those will be adjusted, but the three of those will be within budget as a whole, including what gets transferred back to capital to revenue relating to Lawrence Street Phase 1. As far as fleet upgrade goes, we knew that was going to go over budget based on the salt box, which for the 5-ton truck that needed to be replaced. And we had indicated at the time we would attempt to make it up within other capital items, which we've done. And sidewalk renewal is over budget, and it will go further over budget as there are a few more invoices yet to come in. And we were under in the retaining wall and crosswalk traffic lights not being undertaken. So we looked at using those funds to cover off the overage for that. The two big overages in parks is the former Lund property, which of course is over, but we got money back from the Rotary on that, $25,200. Plus we used the money from the new trail development, which is right below that, to offset the balance of that. And the playground equipment was over by 59,625, but we got money back from that relating to grants. Over $60,000 came back in grants. So unfortunately, what happens with that is that money gets recorded in our operating budget in revenue, and then at the end of the year, it gets charged back to capital to revenue. So it shows there's an overage on here, but when it's charged back, it's not.
Councillor Evans?
Yeah, I just wanted to summarize this as I understand it. The state of the town's finances is good, and I want to echo the CAO and commend the treasurer and all the senior staff for running such a tight ship. We have a good financial plan, which I've talked about in the past, how we're going to be doing from now on, all our, other things being equal, all our capital projects out of revenue, not going to borrow any for that. But I also want to point out something, the 3.59% increase in the tax base this year. The treasurer pointed out to us that we have no reason to believe that's going to be continued into the future. So this has been an especially good year, and I think we're spending our money wisely, but in the future, I don't think we can expect to get 3.6% increase in our tax base. So be prepared.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor O'Neill, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like permission to introduce a motion that would have implications on the budget. Whereas federal legislation was passed which ended the non-taxable allowance of 1/3 of total income as a non-taxable expense allowance, I move that Council direct staff to prepare a bylaw in order to adjust the honorarium for Mayor and Council effective as of January the 1st, 2020, to account for the federal changes implemented on January the 1st, 2019, which would result in the following adjustments. The mayor, current salary, $14,656. This would move him up to $17,700. Deputy mayor, $8,676 to $10,500. A councillor, $7,699 to $9,300.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Finney. This is open for debate, or in the past there had been some suggestion over modifying such a bylaw that it would only take effect in to the following council. So it's up to council how you would like to discuss this now. So it is on the floor, motioned and tabled. Motion and seconded. Councillor Finney, please.
The only thing I can say is I agree with Councillor O'Neill because of the fact that actually it was a change implemented by the federal government, and it's now that we're making less money, paying more taxes, and I don't know anybody who wants to pay more taxes. So what we're doing is just putting back in place what our salary was before the change. And I think that's only fair, as a matter of fact. So that's all for now.
Councillor Evans.
Yeah. Most of what I'm going to say now, I prepared in September when this first came up, and then we didn't have a motion then, and I was really glad that I didn't have to read this. However, now that we have a motion moved and seconded, I feel obliged to speak against it. Requests for funding normally originate with staff in the course of them doing their jobs of fulfilling the priorities of council has established to provide infrastructure and services for the citizens of Sackville. All such requests should get evaluated through the lens of what is in the best interest of the whole municipality. So where is this initiative coming from? This issue was raised by councillors. It was raised because the federal government has decided to tax our income in the same way they tax everybody else's income. We have enjoyed a perk that none of our citizens have enjoyed. And now we're going to lose that perk and we'll have to pay tax the same way everybody else does. So it seemed that to compensate us for the hardship of being treated like everybody else, we are considering making those who have always paid tax on all their income subsidize us with their after-tax income. I don't think that's fair. I think that the benefits councillor enjoyed previously was unfair and that this change in the tax code is an attempt to make it fair for all concerned. If the citizens whose interests we are supposed to be addressing were polled, I don't think they would list council remuneration as one of the top priorities competing for the town's scarce financial resources. I don't think that giving ourselves a raise is in the best interest of the town. I think that it would be good for us as individuals. Everybody wants more money. But, as I have said on many occasions, doing this job is not about what's good for us personally. Speaking of our job, none of us makes our living doing this. This is a part-time job, a sideline. We support ourselves by other means. It's not like the town had to compete with other employers to attract people to work as councillors by paying competitive salaries the way employers do for regular employees. We all, and I include in this all the unsuccessful candidates too, were willing to do the job for the current compensation package. Where is the evidence to support the case that paying councillors more would be better for the municipality as a whole? What problem are we trying to fix? However, in listening to others on this topic in September, something was pointed out to me that I had failed to notice before. While we all had been managing to make do on our personal incomes before we were elected, there may be people, unemployed or underemployed, who would like to offer, but who, in order to participate in our evening meetings, would need to employ someone to look after their dependent family members. I would be happy to explore ways that, if they were elected, these individuals could have additional expenses covered so that they could afford to do the job. In conclusion, according to the information requested by us and presented to us by staff in September, we are among the best compensated councils of municipalities of comparable size in New Brunswick. I see no evidence that increasing that compensation would be in the best interest of the town. Our job as councillors is to look after the town's cookie jar, and I don't think that helping ourselves to the cookies is fair to the people who elected us. I will be voting against this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Any other comment? Question? All those in favor? Can we have a show of hands, please? Just show Councillor Finney, Michaud, and O'Neill. Opposed? Councillor Tower, Evans, Black, and Aiken. Council, the motion is defeated. Thank you. We will return to Finance and Admin. Is that Deputy Mayor Aiken again?
I have a number of motions relating to the budget. I move that on the 9th day of December 2019, the municipality of Sackville, New Brunswick resolved that the sum of $11,385,585 be the total operating budget of the municipality, that the sum of $10,255,924 be the warrant for the municipality for the ensuing year, and that the tax rate for the municipality be $1.56. That the council orders and directs the levying by the Minister of Environment and Local Government the said amount on real property liable to taxation under the Assessment Act within the municipality of Sackville, New Brunswick, adopted this 9th day of December 2019, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and seal the budget documents.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Tower. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Deputy Mayor.
I move that on the 9th day of December 2019, the Council of the Municipality of Sackville, New Brunswick, resolve that pursuant to the paragraph 117, section 4 of the Local Governance Act, the total budget for the water and sewer utility for the ensuing year would consist of the total revenues of $1,989,364 and the total expenditures of $1,989,364, adopted this 9th day of December 2019, and authorized the mayor and clerk to sign and seal the budget documents.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Evans. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move the council authorize the transfer for the budget year 2019 of $225,000 from the General Capital Reserve Fund to the General Operating Fund to cover 2019 capital expenses to be charged through capital out of revenue.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Black. Question?
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move the council authorize a transfer for the budget year 2019 of $120,000 from the utility operating budget to the utility capital reserve fund.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Tower. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move that the municipality of the town of Sackville submit to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board, an application for authorization to borrow or guarantee the repayment of money borrowed for a capital expense for the terms and amounts, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the said document. Environmental health services, lift station upgrades and repairs, $20,000, 5 years. Water treatment plant upgrades, $50,000, 10 years. Replacement of an excavator, $309,000, 10 years. And water and sewer renewals, $83,000, 10 years, for a total of $462,000.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Seconded by Councillor Evans. Question?
Question?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move the council approve the general fund capital out of revenue breakdown in the budgeted amount of $1,215,000 for the 2020 budget year as follows. Protective fire gear, $24,000. Wildland firefighting protection equipment, $30,000. Fire department communication equipment, $20,000. Facility capital upgrades, $40,000. Digital road sign at the Veterans Memorial Service Center, $30,000. Dog park, $80,000. Waterfowl park upgrades, $40,000. Playground equipment replacement, $15,000. Accessible dock at Lillis Fawcett Park, $20,000. Baseball field dugout upgrades, $30,000. Court resurfacing for pickleball, $9,000. Former Lund property development, $15,000. Generator power for the Civic Center EMO, $289,000. Road reconstruction Milner Lane, $138,000. Road reconstruction Wright Street, $90,000. Road reconstruction Cattail Ridge and DOT, $65,000. Sidewalk renewals, $40,000. Crosswalk upgrades, $35,000. Retaining wall Main Street Wright Avenue, $25,000. Public Works Fleet bush cutter attachment, $45,000. Public Works Fleet float trailer, $30,000. Generator for Public Works and lift stations, $80,000. And public art installation, $25,000, for a total of $1,215,000.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Evans. Councillor Michaud, please.
Your Worship, I did have some questions for the Treasurer over the last week in regards to after our last presentation, and I'd just like to kind of get them on public record here as well in regards to the detailed breakdown. My question was in the fact that when we submit this, do we have to have the same level of breakdown regards to our capital projects when it's coming out of revenue as we would as if we were applying for the monies through the province, through the Capital Borrowing Board?
Would you like Mr. Beal to reply to that?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Worship. Councilor Michaud. Yeah, so my answer was that when we do submit our 2020 budget to the province for their approval, because we are an entity of the province and everything does have to get approved through them, we are required to break down and provide the list of capital out of revenue within that. As is the case with our entire budget that we submit, it is usually subject to questions from the province back. As far as the calculated revenue goes, they can ask for more detail if they don't feel there's enough. But as far as your request and the changes you had requested, I can't say whether they would or wouldn't. If that were the change, if a change were made to that effect, it would be up to the province to potentially come back and ask more questions. If they did, we'd have to potentially pass a revised motion afterwards. If they didn't, they would sign off on it. But as indicated, they do come back with questions once it is submitted. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 questions. Sometimes it's half a dozen questions. Sometimes it's a typographical error that we've made when we've filled it out. So, but it is up to the province of New Brunswick to signify final approval of all of our budgets before the end of the year. And as indicated, December 20th is our deadline to submit our budgets to them.
Councilor Michaud?
And my other question was in regards to, we've talked about this as just allocating to the specifics, but at the same end, it is actually when council approves this, or if council approves this, it's actually directing staff to start beginning work on these. Is that correct? And the timing around that?
Yeah, once the budget is approved, of course, a budget is a guiding document that we use to move forward in the upcoming year. Once these are approved, there will be work being done by staff. Work from a financial nature, potentially not. We've heard some of the concerns through the budget process from the councillors. There were a couple of items that were noted within the capital, and that being the dog park and other things. Staff would be directed that before they spend any of those money of items that were of concern, is that they would need to bring forward that early in the new year through the discussion group process and through potentially a resolution directing us to proceed with that. So early in the new year, we would look at the item like the dog park, bringing the conceptual plan, saying here's what we looked at doing. Is council okay with us proceeding with that? Looking at potentially having a resolution moving forward on proceeding with that, or if it's an alternate location, or if it's a smaller park, or anything, that would all be looked at. If we delay too long and move into March, April, May into an election, there is potential that we wouldn't get the money spent in 2020 because the potential for calling tenders, getting approvals, getting the work done could cause problems for us. As we know, it's all capitalized revenue. If it's not spent, just as we did tonight, we would look at moving money in and out of reserve funds to handle it. But ultimately, any expense over $6,000 at this point in time relating to a non-public works item, and anything over $25,000 relating to a public works item would have to come back to council, which signifies the majority of the projects that were listed and recommended within the motion.
Councilor Michaud?
I did have an amendment, but if there's other questions first.
Councilor O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, the only thing is the dog park. Just to be clear on this, $80,000. In order to start that dog park, if it has to come before council for us to approve that, yes, we'll spend that or go ahead with that, because I'm certainly not in favor of the $80,000 for a dog park. So I just want to speak and say that I want to make sure before I vote on this that $80,000 isn't really going to go for a dog park unless it comes back before council again.
Sorry, need the mic on. Absolutely, we've heard. I think we've heard the comments through council, and I would expect that potentially, as early as the February discussion group, that the conceptual plan will be brought forward and discussion will be had. As indicated, anything over $6,000 will need to come back to council. If it's $80,000, of course, I think the biggest part of that is fencing. So there definitely would need to be additional motions, and before we go out and finalize quotes and or a tender relating to fencing construction and or doing any work relating to the landscape at the Beach Hill Park, the conceptual plan will be brought forward to council and a decision made on whether council wishes to go forward. No difference than happened during 2019 when the traffic lights at the Main Street intersection at Mount A The engineer brought that forward, and council decided that it was not a project they wanted to undertake. So what we're doing within the budget process is allocating money. We've heard the dog park seems to be the main topic of discussion, and that needs to come back to council early in the new year with conceptual plans and expenses. If any expenses are paid, there would be motions for sure.
Good? You're good? Councilor Neal, you're okay?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Finney?
I'll be voting against this budget because of the fact that there are a number of things on it that I'm not in favor of. And as I said last week, a lot of things on this budget are wants, not needs. And the thing is to turn around and spend the money not fiscally responsible, I can't do that. So there's a number of things, like I said, that I don't agree with, and I think if they were removed, then I might, even though we supposedly have to have them come back, but I don't want people out in the public thinking that I'm in agreement with these here things that are put on this budget at the present time. So I'll be voting against it.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Councilor Michaud, you have
I'd like to make an amendment actually to the line items here. I move that the motion as tabled be amended to remove the dog park, $80,000, Lund property, $15,000, the court resurfacing pickleball, $9,000, and trails/bridges waterfowl park, $40,000, and be replaced with recreational infrastructure, $144,000.
Okay. Can you just say that again so we can capture it and make sure we got that?
Sure.
Sorry.
So I'm moving that, that the motion as tabled be amended to remove the dog park, $80,000, Lund property, $15,000, court resurfacing pickleball, $9,000, and trail/bridges waterfowl park, $40,000, and replace with recreational infrastructure, $144,000.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Michaud, seconded by Councilor Finney. Open for discussion, questions. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I won't be supporting this. I've never heard of budgeting going backwards, where we had a whole series of meetings earlier in the fall assigning priorities to various things. We looked at response from the public about priorities. This list was developed at considerable time by staff. As it stands, it's open and fairly transparent about what we intend to do. I'll remind people that it's a budget. It's not a set of invoices. It's not a tenders. It's just a budget, which changes almost daily. And replacing some very specific, out in the open kind of proposals with a general, let's spend it on some infrastructure stuff, is, to me, not the way to go. So I'll be voting against this amendment.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councilor Finney?
I was just going to say, as a matter of fact, if the amendment goes through, I'll change my vote and vote in favor of it. I would like to also note, too, though, I was talking to a dog owner today who was in the process of walking, and this person had told me that a citizen of this town went to the dog park in Moncton, and their dog was attacked viciously by a pit bull, and its face was pretty mangled, as a matter of fact. So I think we need to turn around and look at this whole thing, and the fact is that there are a number of dog owners in this town who actually say a dog park is not needed. So, thank you.
Councilor Tower, please.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to vote against the amendment, but where I don't agree that we need to spend $80,000 on a dog park, I understand it's going to come back, and we can make our arguments, slash it in half or whatever. But some of the other adjustments I can't agree with. And when it comes to pickleball, that is a recreational development by itself, and it's a growing sport, and so it helps a portion of our town that are very active, and we want to increase that. So I don't see any really productive coming out of this, other than we already know most of us don't want the dog park.
Any other councilors wish to weigh in? Hearing none, we have a motion on the amended motion. So, question? All those in favor? Aye. Sorry, hands, please. Councillor Finney, Councillor Michaud? Okay. Opposed? Nay. Okay, thank you. So we're back to the original motion as moved by Deputy Mayor. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Say 2 nays from Councillor Finney and Councillor Michaud. Motion is carried. Deputy Mayor?
I move the council authorize the settlement of the unconnected water and sewer account number 1530-023 as presented at the special meeting of council on December 2nd, 2019.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Seconded by Councillor Evans. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. That's it?
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. So we move to one more. Sorry, there's, Deputy Mayor, there's one more, is there? Additional motion was on your desk there.
Okay. I move the council declare the surplus the 2008 F-150 half-ton, serial number 1FTRF12218KE54865, and authorize its sale to Estabrook Small Engines in the amount of $699.50, HST included.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Seconded by Councillor Tower. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Now you're done. All right.
Want to take a minute to recover?
We'll move on to tourism business development. Councillor Tower, please.
Thank you, Worship. The information's on page 34. The manager attended the inaugural Eating Heritage Symposium on Food Tourism in Dieppe, which I think we should have in Sackville too. And I'll ask Mr. Spurls if he would give a bit more background on the food heritage, since it is part of our life here.
Thank you, Councillor Chowell, Your Worship, and other councillors. This actually is it's the inaugural one for the region, but there was one 2 years ago, a national conference here, and in fact, they did have some of that one in Sackville. We were very fortunate to get them to bring a couple of events into Sackville. This was a much smaller one, so it all took place in Dieppe over 2 days. It was mostly a presentation of business models that different organizations are using to combine an interest in food and tourism, and leveraging tourism dollars and trying to keep tourists in the region for a longer period of time. There were probably 6 or 8 presentations. I had some good discussions with people, including, as funny as this may sound, a couple of local people that the manager of the market came and a couple of other local business people. So we had a good discussion at that meeting about the idea of using food to increase our tourism possibilities. So we don't have any major concrete plans that have come out of it, but I know there's a talk of creating a kind of a local working group to try to increase the possibilities in this area. So it was a good conference and worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you for that. The winter lights have all been installed now, so thanks to Parks and Facilities and Public Works crew for getting that taken care of. We're now starting to work on preparing the new guys for 2020, and so we'll put out a call for updates and advertising for our 2020 Visitors Guide as our first project of the new year. The manager coordinated the Rotarian opening at the Waterfowl Park, which we've been talking about tonight, and the Daniel Lunn Extension. It was quite successful, and there was 50 or more people who enjoyed that celebration. The manager also attended Greenway Trails Organization meeting in November 20th, where the need to create something to replace the now defunct Trails NB was discussed, and do you have any more feedback to put behind that, Mrs. Sparrows?
Thank you again, Councilor Tower. I don't have too much to report on that. The meeting was really a broad meeting of representatives from around the province who discussed the need or interest in having a provincial organization and some possible ways that people might be able to collaborate to kind of link some of our trails together. So that has a lot of exciting potential, and I put my name forward as someone who would like to continue to be involved in the development of this group. And recently the fellow Mark Legier, who is kind of organizing the whole thing, was in touch with us to say that basically he'll be in touch with us again soon with more updates. So that's where we are now.
Very good, thank you. The manager attended the Tourism Industry Association of Brunswick Annual Summit in Moncton on November 27th, 28th. Many topics, including the Provincial Tourism Department priorities, which we're hoping we'll get more involved with, and the hotel levy, which we'll leave for a conversation much later. Our experiential learning student, Michelle Roy, finishes her internship on December 6th. She's completed and enjoying life, I'm sure. We thank her for her hard work and assistance over the past 12 weeks. And that is the report.
Questions on the report? Hearing none, you do not have any motions. We'll then move to public property and facilities. Councillor Finney?
Thank you, Your Worship. Engineering Public Works. The Public Works Department and our subcontractors completed the remainder of the sidewalk renewal project for Wellington Street during the month of November. Public Works and Park staff removed all banners around town, including the one in the Memorial Park, and installed the Christmas lights and decorations around town and on town-owned facilities during the month of November. The Public Works Department installed and replaced several street signs around town. The Utility Department completed the pumping out of all fire hydrants during the month of November in preparation for the cold winter month. The Engineering Department continued to work with Crandall Engineering Limited on Phase 2 of the Lawrence Street Stormwater Mitigation Project throughout the month of November. The balance of the work to complete Phase 2 of the Lawrence Street Stormwater Mitigation Project was discussed and approved by Council during the month of November. We issued the tender for this work on November 14th, with the closing being held on November 28th at 11 a.m. During the tender opening, we received 4 tender bids as follows. Beal and Inch Construction, $247,912.63, HST included. 683962, New Brunswick Limited, $1,045,867.50, HST included. Third tender, Bowser's Construction, $264,385, HST included. And the fourth submission was Dexter Construction at $427,794.35, HST included. The low bid from Beal and Inch Construction Limited has been verified, and a motion will be coming forward tonight. The Engineering Department continued to work with Bowers Construction on the sanitary trunk sewer replacement project between Squire Street and Star Avenue. We hope to have the remainder of the pipe and manholes installed before the end of December. The remainder of the project with respect to landscaping, topsoil, and side will be completed in the spring. Tantamar Veterans Memorial Civic Center. November is one of the busiest months of the year at the Civic Center. All hockey groups started playing games in November, as well as 3 hockey tournaments. The Civic Center has also had birthday parties, aerobics, rod and gun club meetings, sports wall committee meetings, minor hockey board meetings, minor baseball board meetings, minor football board meetings throughout the month of November. The Dave Wheaton Invitational Tournament will be held during the first weekend of December, as well as several boys and girls high school games. All levels of minor hockey and the Sackville Skate Club will also be on the ice throughout the month of November. The Civic Center will be closed for Christmas at 12 p.m. on December 24th and will reopen at 6:30 a.m. on December 27th. The Civic Center will also be closed at 12 p.m. on December 31st and will reopen January 2nd at 6 a.m. Municipal Parks. On December 3rd, a Waterfowl Advisory Committee meeting was held at the Civic Center. The meeting committee discussed a variety of items such as 2019 stats from VIC staff, 2019 maintenance, the Rotary Bridge, the Lund property, as well as potential future projects. The committee also discussed the possibility of becoming the first urban wetland community to become a Ramsar-accredited town. No idea what that is. Staff requested quotes from 6 contractors for the repairs to the ski hut at Beach Hill Park. 2 quotes were received, one from Sackville General Contracting in the amount of $15,525 HST included, and one from Andrew D. Wilson Industries in the amount of $10,350 HST included. A motion will also be coming forward for that tonight. Public Properties and Facility staff would like to wish all a happy holiday.
Thank you, Councillor Finney. Questions on the report?
That's it, Your Worship.
Hearing no questions, Councillor Finney, you have motions.
Yes, I do, Your Worship. I move that award tender number 2019-015, mulching, reditching, and related work to the lowest bidder, Beelinage Construction Limited, in the reduced amount of $225,000 HST included.
Moved by Councillor Finney, seconded by Councillor Evans. Councillor Michaud, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm noticing the motion, it doesn't indicate the pump, and I'm just kind of wondering as well, do you have like a component breakdown as to this tender? Like, I know it's a overall amount, but you know, what the cost of the pump is, or the ditching?
Mr. Acton?
Yes, we do. We typically do not give out unit price bids to the public. We give out the total bids. We've never given out individual pricing per line item in the past. It does include the pump, yes. The tender was exactly what we discussed in our previous meetings, which is the mulching of the trees, the ditching of the ditch from the Abadeau over to near the CN tracks behind the community garden. And it also includes a 6-inch dewatering pump on a concrete pad enclosed in a chain link fence near the Abadeau location to be able to pump water from the freshwater side over the dike on an as-needed basis.
Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor Finney, you have a second motion?
Yes, Your Worship. I move that council approve the quotation from Andrew D. Wilson Industries to perform the necessary repairs to the ski hut at Beach Hill Park in the amount of $10,350 HST included.
Moved by Councillor Finney, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Finney.
Your Worship, I have one question.
Certainly.
I'd like to direct to Mr. Acton. What is a Ramsar accredited town? Please explain.
Mr. Cole?
Technically, it's a Ramsar accredited city, but we are a town. We have urban wetlands inside our town limits. There are several Ramsar sites. It's I'd say a worldwide accreditation for the way things are done in wetlands. Where we are in an urban setting, we would be one of the first that would possibly get that designation. So the Waterfowl Advisory Committee is looking into the possibility. There's no financial ramifications to the town of Sackville. It's basically a feather in our cap if we can get this accreditation.
What would they do to get that would allow them to get the accreditation?
I'll be honest with you, I'd have to get a little more information from some other people. But essentially, they're going to be looking at all of the things involved with our wetlands. But Jamie does have some more information in his report as well.
So Ramsar is an international organization that does an international level of certification. Mr. Burke, would you like to supplement that?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Finney. Ramsar is actually a town in Iran. That's where, kind of like the Kyoto Protocol, that's where the the accreditation program started. So there is a very extensive application process that we would need to file, which covers a lot of the things that Mr. Cole pointed out about an urban wetland. So there are areas, excuse me, within the region that are Ramsar accredited sites, but they're not accredited under the urban specific designation. So there are currently none in North America. This would be the first time and an opportunity for Sackville to potentially have that. Again, no financial cost, but we would look to some of the expertise on the Waterfowl Park Advisory Committee to help us fill out the application. A lot of his scientific analysis on the functionality of the wetland, the benefits that it provides from ecosystem services, et cetera. So that's outside, obviously, of our expertise, but we would look to some of the experts on the board, on the committee, sorry, to give us a hand with filling out the application. So we, if we agree to do that, there would need to be a motion of council, which is what we've kind of just, as a heads up for January, because we would need a motion authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the application if we deem that it is something that we want to go after.
So you said Ramsar is a city or town in Iran?
That's correct.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think the Ramsar report, its main direction is to create and establish and maintain wildlife or waterfowl habitat. That was I think the main thrust of it.
Councilor Michaud?
Thank you, Your Worship. My only question, and we talked at length in regards to, during the operation budget, in regards to the Lower Fairfield Road and the condition, and I know we had talked about the folks who had sent the letter and the petition, and I'm just wondering when they'll receive something back from the municipality in regards to what can, will, or won't be done in regards to that road. So I'm just kind of wondering for a timeline around that. So.
CEO, is that you or Mr. Acton?
I can, I think this was discussed at the last council meeting last week, and the mayor had indicated that a letter would be going back to them, so a letter will be prepared in the near future and responded to.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Finney. We'll move to recreation programs. Councilor O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Worship. The fall programs are all wrapping up for the holidays. Trailblazers After School program had 84 children participate this fall, and registration will be opening for the winter session early in the new year, along with our winter programs. Beginning December the 6th, women's shinny hockey will begin, and you can register or pre-register for all 13 ice times at only $5 each, or pay a drop-in fee of $8 to participate. The Sackville Sports Wall of Fame Board is now accepting nominations for 2020 inductees. Nominations are due January the 10th, which I think that's tomorrow, I believe. Visit sackville.com to download nomination forms. We are now accepting submissions to our annual Sports Recognition Night, which recognizes athletes, teams, and coaches who have had success at the provincial level or higher in 2019. Submissions are due January the 11th, 2020. And of course, you visit the sackville.com to download your submission forms. The 2019 Christmas Light Bus Tour will take place December the 18th, and I guess it's sold out, but you can go on a wait list in case there are some cancellations. The Sackville Strummers will be performing at our annual holiday ukulele kitchen party here on December the 19th, and right here in this room. The New Year's Levy will be held here in the Town Hall from 1 until 3 p.m. on January 1st. The 2020 Sackville Winterfest will take place on February the 6th to the 9th, which will include Fireman's Carnival, the Town Against the Gown hockey game, fireworks, and much more. To submit an event, contact the Programs and Events Department before December the 20th. Fireworks display motions will follow. Bob Idgett's Boxing Club has provided the requested information to staff to allow for the release of their small capital funding dollars, and a motion will be coming forward on that. Community development grant applications are under review and will be presented to council on February 2020. And that is all I have for that. I'll go on with the library one before I make motions. There were 1,366 people visited the library in October. Over 30 children have been participating in the Thursday morning story time program. And that's all for there, and I have a couple of motions or so. Your Worship.
Question on the report from Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Worship. One thing I noted, one of the points in here I felt was very interesting in regards to, on December 5th, staff met with various sports groups and recreation representatives to discuss ways to work together. And action items were developed from the meeting. I'm just kind of curious as to what some of those actions were and how that worked out. I think that's a very important initiative that was taken there.
Mr. Bragg?
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. We met there last week. Myself and Deanna Cabin met with the various sports groups. There was 12 different organizations that were represented, and we basically asked them 3 different questions. One being, how do the organizations in town currently work together? What could they do to improve how they work together, and what could the town do to better support sports and recreation organizations in town? So out of the discussion came a few different areas that we're going to look at. A couple have been mentioned in the recreation master plan already, so that was nice to see some consistency. But recreation and sports fair was an event, a very tangible and easy to accomplish event in the spring that would include all of the organizations and individuals in town who offer sport and recreation programs. We also talked about a shared registration process. Not sure exactly how that will look yet, but it's something that we're going to talk about further. And it talked about offering more recreational physical activity opportunities for children and youth, so non-competitive opportunities like the Trailblazers program and what we do in the summer, but more opportunities year-round. So those were kind of the big 3 that showed up, and there were some other small items too that we can talk to the groups about going down the road, but those are the big 3.
But again, that's really important work. I'm really excited to see this type of activity happen, and I'm not quite sure if there's something happening on the other side with arts, culture, and theater in our community, but I think it would be really good to take the same approach with arts, culture, and theater in our community to ensure that all these groups are working together, because as we as a municipality continue to advance and face maybe money issues or it'd be good to see all these groups working more together to continue to provide the excellent type of services that they're providing to our residents. So just a thought there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Councillor Evans was second. Councillor Evans?
Okay. I just want to point out something, and it's not a criticism. I think Councillor O'Neill was so excited about getting to the ukulele performance that she may have said the deadlines for the Hall of Fame were December 10th. I believe it's January 10th.
She did say January 10th.
Did you? Oh, okay, tomorrow. Okay, fair enough. Good, because I want to make sure there's still lots of time.
Yeah.
But the ukulele thing is the big part of this
You're right.
catalog. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Aiken, please.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to congratulate, I know they skipped over it in the report, but congratulate Matt Pride and Deanna and whoever else was involved on the tree lighting ceremony and distribution of stuff to children on Friday night. How many bags were put together, Matt?
We handed out about 160 bags to children by the end of the night.
Okay, there were treat bags for children, like Matt says 160 were distributed, and the whole thing went very well. And I have it on good authority that Santa was mightily pleased with it, so.
Any other comments on the report? Then we have motions.
Thank you. I move that council authorize funds to be issued to the Bob Edgetts Boxing Club small 2019 capital grant application in the amount of $5,000 to be used in the construction and materials for the new building that will begin in 2019 and will be completed in 2020.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Finney. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor O'Neill, you have another.
Yes, I do, sir. I move that council authorize the fire chief as part of the Winterfest events to complete an application to purchase from Mack Fireworks to provide a commercially organized fireworks display to be held at the Bill Johnson Memorial Park on Friday, February the 7th, 2020, with a storm date of Saturday, February the 8th, 2020, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and seal the necessary agreement.
Moved by Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Tower.
No, I think.
Oh, sorry. Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Tower. Too many hands up there. Question?
Third. Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
I move that, oh, I have
Go
one
ahead,
more.
Councillor O'Neill.
I move that council authorize the closure of Ford Lane from the entrance to Bill Johnstone Memorial Park to Lansdowne Street on the evening of Friday, February the 7th, 2020, from approximately 4 p.m. until 9 p.m., with a storm date of Saturday, February the 8th, 2020, to accommodate the Winterfest fireworks show.
Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. I think that's it for recreation. We move to public safety, and I think you're doing it again.
I'm doing it again. I'm having pretty near a good time as Councillor, or the Deputy Mayor did. Sackville Fire and Rescue responded to 21 calls for service in the month of November, which included 6 utility pole fires, 6 commercial fire alarms, 5 motor vehicle collisions, 1 smoke in a residence, 1 rubbish fire, and 1 call for assistance from Ambulance New Brunswick, and 1 electrical fire. Training sessions were self-contained breathing apparatus, tag out, lockout station, and equipment checks. I don't know what that means, but maybe the chief can tell us after.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. As it relates to tag out, lockout, we simulated an exercise at our hospital, the Memorial Hospital here in town, 2 weeks ago, and created a scenario where there was an electrical piece of equipment that was compromised, and the firefighters had to go in and deal with that. So before they went in and dealt with the electrical piece of equipment, they had to de-energize the piece of equipment, and we have what we call tag out lockouts that we put on to make sure that that system cannot be re-energized while the members are working on it. And we also put a clasp on it to know that it can't be re-energized until somebody comes in and fixes that appliance properly.
Thank you. Appreciate that, because I guess I think of you folks just going out and fighting fires, and there's so much more that you have to know. Anyway, the Ladies Auxiliary hosted their annual Christmas banquet, and I was pleased to attend along with Deputy Mayor and our Allison Butcher and our CAO. It was a great event. Thank you for having us. During the banquet, we had the opportunity to recognize several of the members for special achievements. The members that were recognized are as follows. 10 years of service went to Travis Thurston, Kevin Scott, Darren Estabrooks, Travis Estabrooks, Stevie Fillmore, and David Sears. 20 years of service went to Devin Partridge, and 25 years of service went to Mike Green. The Rookie Firefighter of the Year went to Jillian Hunt and Jeffrey Murray. The Training Award went to Justin Finney. The Firefighter of the Year Award went to Sean Finney. Charlie Richards Memorial went to Jeffrey Murray, and the Lifetime Achievement Award went to Bobby Hicks. Also receiving Firefighter 1 certificates were Jeffrey Murray, Caitlin Turner, and Jillian Hunt. And we thank those people and congratulate the members who received the awards. And I know the other firefighters all say thank you to them for their hard work and dedication. Sackville Fire and Rescue held its 7th annual Parade of Lights the other night. Very well done.
Yeah.
And of course, the parade consisted of several emergency services, Atlantic Towing, Beal and Inch Construction, and I'm not just sure who else was there. I know I watched them go by, but it's hard to tell who's there. But I did see Santa Claus. As always, the chief likes to remind all residents of Sackville to make sure that they have basic emergency kit prepared to last for 72 hours in the event of an emergency. And that's all. If there's any questions, I'm sure the chief would be glad to answer them.
Questions on the fire report? Councillor Evans?
I just want to say that it wasn't only little kids on the street who were saying, wow, when those vehicles went by with all those decorations. That's pretty impressive. And I don't know if it's irresponsible. It's like sometimes we just spend money on fireworks and blow stuff up, but I think it's really nice once in a while to do fun stuff, and that was pretty cool.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Yes, our members did a great job decorating, spent countless hours, and would also like to point out that we rolled our whole fleet in the parade, as well as Public Works had equipment in there as well that they dedicated time to. So thank you.
Thank you. Police Services, Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you. During the month of November, the RCMP are pleased to say that the trend from the past months has decreased in overall calls for service compared to last year. They fielded 117 complaints compared to 169 last year. Property crime reports also decreased by approximately 30%, even with overall regional property crime remaining fairly high. In the last 2 weeks, 2 individuals were arrested and charged with related offenses from recent months. Sackville officers attended to several collisions in the town. In all, 17 collisions were reported. They all involved property damage, except one which involves some injuries. The rise in collisions is in part due to the changing season. Also related to traffic, 13 speeding tickets were issued in town, and December will bring a focus on impaired driving prevention and detection. And I think that's all for that. And we do have a report from the CPO on the CPO, who continues to be busy throughout the community, visits the hospital, handing out positive tickets. I guess there wasn't any issued in November. He continues to work with MAD and RCMP Auxiliary and Tim Horton's Leadership Camp and so on and so forth. So he's a busy gent, always finding something to do. And that's all my report, Your Worship.
CAO, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a chance to mention this briefly to the mayor before the council meeting. So I received a call this afternoon from the RCMP office in Fredericton. And the word is that our CPO is moving on to another job within 2 weeks. I guess it has come about as a result of the unionization of the RCMP. He's caught up in a situation that's been referred to as deeming, which his position is impacted, to use the federal language on it. Therefore, this position under the MPSA was not protected, so to speak, from federally or provincially. But I believe he has the option to pursue other options within a certain period of time, and I think he's done that, and is likely continuing in perhaps another community, maybe in the same responsibilities, but it's just brief information that I can provide at this time, but by January it'll be old news. Wow. So it's basically, I forget his title, but he's a direct to the CO from the administrative side, Pierre Heelis, and so he's indicated that he would work with the town to see what possibilities are there for us to continue with the CPO position, because the same holds true that while the CPO wasn't recognized by the feds or the province to be a protected position, the same will be true for potentially a new person. So it may be a new day for the town of Sackville in terms of how we do or handle the CPO position within our workforce.
And it's somewhat disturbing in that we recently had a municipal organization. All of the municipal contracts met with the province and with the RCMP, and this was not a topic whatsoever for us. So it came as quite a surprise this evening that we heard this. And you heard it just earlier today, in essence. So continue to have to fight for everything under that municipal agreement. So, Councillor Evans, please.
Yeah, and I know it's too soon to ask questions, but I guess I want to take this opportunity to say, just as Councillor O'Neill mentioned, that Jean-Francois has been a real asset. He had big boots to fill when Emily left, and he did it admirably. And so this is really frustrating. This is an initiative. No other municipality that I'm aware of has their own CPO. Like the region, the rest of the region shares one. This is something that the town has paid for, and we've got really good value for it. So this is really troubling. We are willing to do this. We contracted with them. It took a long time to get them, and now just to have them yanked away, it's pretty upsetting. But I want to take the opportunity to thank him because he did a really good job.
So I think we'll need to put a little attention on this, what the options might be and how we might move ahead. So we'll look to the CIO for some leadership on that. But if there's councillors individually interested, particularly the liaison councillors, that be helpful that we delve into this pretty quickly. Okay. There are no motions under public safety, correct? We move on to policy bylaw. That'll be Councillor Black.
Thank you. The report appears on page 46 of the package. The Policy and Bylaw Liaison Group met on November 19th, 2019. The meeting group reviewed policy 2019-02, IT security policy, and policy number 2019-03, account management policy, and motions will be presented at tonight's meeting. Bylaw number 273, a bylaw relating to the establishment of a special business improvement area levy. This bylaw received first and second reading at the regular council meeting of November 12th, 2019, and third and final reading will be coming forward at tonight's meeting, together with a motion to pass the BIA budget that was provided by Main Street, which appears on page 47 of the report. Bylaw number 270, Town of Sackville subdivision bylaw received first reading at the November 12th, 2019 regular council meeting, and second and third reading happened this evening. A request for quotations was sourced out to provide the work authorized through the capital budget for 2019 for the ski hut at Beach Hill Park. 6 contractors, as we heard tonight, were contacted. We got 2 quotes, and Andrew Wilson Industries received the contract. Tender number 2019-015, Lawrence Street Stormwater Mitigation Phase 2. Tree mulching and reditching, together with related work, was issued with 4 submissions, which we also heard tonight. And Beal and Inch Construction was awarded the contract. Tender number 2019-016, surplus 2008 Ford half-ton truck, closed on Wednesday, December 4th, 2019. There were no submissions received. But it's been updated, and we heard that tonight as well.
There was a subsequent offer made.
And that's the end of the report, but I also have some motions as well.
Okay, just a moment as the councillors Michaud and Deputy Mayor Aiken step out of the room for the first motion. Yeah, I was going to say, should I do that one first? Okay. Councillor Black, please.
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 273, a bylaw relating to the establishment of a special business improvement area levy in the town of Sackville.
Moved by Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Evans, please.
I just want to make a statement, something I've shared with my colleagues here already, but a question was raised about this, and it has been answered to my satisfaction, and so I will be voting in favor of this motion. But there is, in doing some homework, in the act under which the original bylaw was passed, it says that, one of the things in the act, it says that the corporation, in this case Main Street Redevelopment Sackville Inc., will report to council, I think it's within 3 months or something, on how the money was spent in the past year. And I don't recall that happening before, so I would like to encourage us to have them come and report on their activities to us, you know, pursuant to the act, but mostly because I think we should be interested in what they're doing. But again, I'm going to be voting for the motion.
Staff made note of your comment. Yes? Councillor Finney, please.
Some other information concerning the business levy that we received as well, that for instance, the Main Street or the levy thing is in suspended animation right now. They've got some paperwork that needs to be done. And so I was wondering if that could be explained as to how this is being rectified and how this is being forwarded, and how did it come about, who was involved in the whole process?
So my understanding of it, I'll give you, and then I'll ask for a little bit more detail, but my understanding is that corporations have an annual requirement to report to whether it's a provincial corporation or a federal corporation, and you have to supply certain information and pay a fee each year, and that it happens often that people forget about that, or because they don't necessarily get a notice, or it may have moved, and it happens fairly often. So you can miss your reporting period, and if you do it enough times in a row, you're dissolved, you're done, you're out of the corporate registries. But if you can catch up, it happens so often that they allow you to catch up. You owe us 2 years of reports, or you owe us 1 year of reports, and pay your fees, that then you catch up. I think that's what we're talking about, is a corporate registry annual. Is that good? So that's where they are. They found out they hadn't filed, and I understand that they have now filed that paperwork.
They have now.
That's what I understand.
So they're up to date then? Is that what we're saying?
So they filed, and they will be up to date because it's in the corporate, but they haven't got up.
So it's okay for us to turn around and pass this now?
That's what I understand. They're at that.
It was also sent to the lawyer or something as well, that he said this kind of thing happens all the time?
Yes.
Okay, I just think the people should know exactly how this all transpired. I asked Mr. Beal, and he explained it quite well to me, so I thought that maybe he could explain it to the people.
You're good? I think have we covered it? Okay. All right, so we're good on that. So question? Question. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Can we, are there more? Okay.
But that's the only BIA one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So they can come back in?
Well, it's still the rate.
There's still a rate. There's another one that's still a rate. Okay. Councillor O'Neill?
Councilor Black.
Oh, Councillor Black? Sorry.
I move that on the 9th day of December 2019, the Council of the Municipality of Sackville NB enacted by bylaw that a business improvement levy be imposed on all non-residential property within the business improvement area of the municipality that is liable to taxation under the Assessment Act. The levy shall be in the amount of $24,133.80 at the rate of 20 cents, and the council hereby directs and orders the Minister of Environment and Local Government to levy the said amount pursuant to provisions adopted this 9th day of December 2019, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and seal the budget documents.
Moved by Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Tower. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. One more.
I move that council approve the business improvement levy budget for 2020 as provided by Main Street Redevelopment.
Moved by Councillor Black. Seconded by Councillor Tower. All those in favor? Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Will the record show that Deputy Mayor Aiken and Councillor Michaud returned to the room? Councillor Butcher, please. Black.
I move that council approve policy 2019-02 IT security policy.
Moved by Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Evans. Councillor Finney, please.
Against this policy because I feel that actually we should actually look into investigating or putting out another tender for an IT provider. I think the amount of money we're paying now is getting exorbitantly high, and we might even be in a position to be able to hire a full-time person at less money. So I think that's something we should do before we turn around and pass policies.
Councillor Finney. Any other questions? Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No, Councillor Finney, negative, but motion is carried. Councillor Black.
I move that council approve policy 2019-03 account management policy.
Moved by Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Evans. Councillor Finney.
I think this is another issue that actually needs further investigation, and so therefore I'll be voting against it.
Thank you, Councillor. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councillor Finney, as a negative, motion is carried. Okay. That is all for policy bylaw, and personnel is next. Councillor Evans.
Got a lot of policies to go by here. Here we go. Page 54 of your package. Council liaison meeting was held on December 5th. At the end of November, there were 35 permanent employees and 1 temporary employee. Internal staffing process for custodial labor position needs to be amended, I think. Maybe I'll ask the CIO to speak to this. Things have changed since the report was written. Hiring process continues for the CAO and the Public Works Manager Superintendent, and I'm just going to make a note that the council met with the CAO search consultant on December 2nd. Now, we've already mentioned these things before, but I think it's worth repeating, so I'm going to read what's in the report. Congratulations to the following employees on receiving their service recognition awards. Andy Finney, 10 years. Dwayne Fillmore, 10 years. Craig Bowser, 10 years. Seems like forever. Mike Stokes, 15 years, and Deanna Cadman, 30 years. Fire Department also held their annual awards evening this past month, and we are pleased to congratulate the following recipients on their awards. This is the one that I'm going to be doing a second time. Travis Thurston, 10 years. Kevin Scott, 10 years. Darren Esterbrooks, 10 years. Travis Esterbrooks, 10 years. Stevie Fillmore, 10 years. David Sears, 10 years. Devin Partridge, 20 years. Mike Green, 25 years. And now the awards. Jillian Hunt and Jeffrey Murray, Rookie Firefighters of the Year. Justin Finney, Training of the Year Award winner. Sean Finney, Firefighter of the Year, and he just happened to show up tonight. Jeffrey Murray, the Charlie Richards Memorial Award, and Bobby Hicks, Lifetime Achievement Award. Firefighter 1 certifications were presented to Jeffrey Murray, Caitlin Turner, and Jillian Hunter.
CIO, you want to speak to the staffing matter?
Sorry to put you on the spot, and maybe you don't want to say anything.
No, for clarification purposes, as Councillor Evans pointed out, the custodian labor position at the time of writing this report last week, Pam Hicks was appointed to that position effective December 2nd. And that was during the last round of bargaining with the union. They had requested the opportunity for employees to have the ability within 30 days, if they were to apply for an internal position and not favor it for whatever reason, they had the ability to return to their former position. So, so last week, shortly after submitting this report, management was advised that she was interested in returning to her position. So she is back at her desk at the payables area. So we will pick up the hiring process to, again, on the custodian labor position, and hope to have somebody soon, whether that be internal and or external. We'll fulfill the internal posting, and if we get someone, great, and if we don't, then we would be required to, or would be going outside externally.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions on the report? Okay. We shall move to corporate affairs and strategic development. Councilor Michaud.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report appears on page 55, and I'll touch on some highlights here and also get Mr. Burke to elaborate on a few of the points here as well. As reported in November, work on the town's new marketing plan is well underway by Portfolio. The consultants are currently carrying out key stakeholder interviews and are preparing for a World Cafe scheduled for January 18th, snow date of January 25th. The World Cafe is open to the public, and residents are invited to give their input on the town's positioning efforts and provide guidance for future marketing initiatives. The results of the session will be integrated into a realistic and achievable five-year marketing plan, which will be aligned with existing assets and priorities of the town. We look forward to seeing you on January 18th. The staff attended a variety of meetings over the month, including one with EOS Eco Energy on the town's corporate climate change adaptation plan achievements, and to discuss 2020 Environmental Trust Fund projects, a meeting with the Sackville Legion on the annual Remembrance Day ceremony and potential for other partnerships, the quarterly meeting of the New Brunswick Planning Directors, a meeting on the Sackville Legion banner project for 2020, and a meeting with representatives from Miller Waste on the town's solid waste collection program. Also, staff are very pleased to attend and support the Marsh Street Middle School Young Entrepreneur Show on November 21st. And I'm just wondering if Mr. Burke could just give us a little, elaborate a little more on those meetings with those different groups.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Michaud. So the first one with EOS was kind of twofold, I guess. Part of it was to just go through our corporate climate change adaptation plan, kind of action by action, get an update on where we are with some of the capital purchases and other improvements that we made over the last 12 to 24 months, including the new emergency response plan that Chief Bowser was working on. So that was part of it. The second was the end of November is always the time for environmental trust fund applications, and we're always happy to support EOS in their attempt to secure outside funding. So we know this year they submitted an application to go beyond 72-hour planning, to go well beyond that in terms of helping our local and regional residents prepare for an emergency, such as a canning workshop is just one example of how to have food on hand in the event that you're without power. And then secondly was through their energy coordinator, submitted an application to do further work on updating our Partners for Climate Protection program, and that's specifically dealing with Milestone 5 and having a series of workshops across the region to help residents and regional folks, I guess, help reduce their own dependence on energy themselves. So that's two really great projects which we're thrilled to support and be a part of. The meeting with the Sackville Legion, Mr. Pride and I met with representatives from the Legion several weeks ago. This was just to touch base on the 2020 Remembrance Day ceremony. We partner in a variety of ways for that. For example, Mr. Cole's crew delivers a variety of infrastructure for the part of the event setup, and then we print the brochure, which a lot of people probably don't are unaware of. So we're just touching base on timelines for some of that stuff, but also looking at ways that where we can partnership. You know, obviously their Poppy campaign is huge, and we currently don't have a big role to play in helping spread the word on the importance of that initiative. So that's something we're going to be looking to help with them on in 2020. The quarterly meeting with the New Brunswick Planning Directors. I'm the president of the New Brunswick Association of Planners, so every quarter all of the directors from across the province get together, and as president I'm welcome to come and sit in on those meetings just so our association and our members are up to date. The Sackville Legion banner project for 2020, as it's mentioned later in the report, we're getting a lot of public interest and positive commentary on our Legion banner project. And I say it's ours. It's not ours. We're a partner. This is a project that Garrett Zwicker has initiated several years ago, and it's grown leaps and bounds through the original 60 or some banners that we originally committed to. So we're happy to continue partnering in the years to come. So for those who aren't aware, we purchased the banner hardware, and then the banners themselves are purchased privately by the individuals who are honoring their veteran. And then our Parks and Facilities crew, in partnership with sometimes our engineering and public works staff, go ahead and put the banners up for them. So it's another great project. And then lastly, the meeting with Miller Waste. This is something that Mr. Acton and I initiated, just literally to touch base with our own solid waste provider on a number of topics that we're getting questioned on from our residents. You know, bins versus plastic bags was one topic. The cleanup weeks, so every year when we put out, encourage residents to put things out on the side of the curb for cleanup. There's some inconsistency between municipalities, how big the sticks needs to be, what exactly the contractors are picking up. So that's something we're going to be looking to work with the contractor and some of our local stakeholders on to build some consistency around the region for pickup. We also had a lengthy conversation on recycling for apartment buildings and how that may work. Through working with our own service provider and some of the challenges that they would face going into private property to pick up a three-stream collection. So that was very informative. And then lastly was focused on the enforcement of the residential three-stream program. We do know that we have residents out there who are not participating, and the time has come where we will carry out an enforcement program. The program has been widely publicized. People have had ample time to find out or ask questions, but now the time has come to proceed with some enforcement to help encourage them to participate as they should be. So that's and then lastly, the Marshall Middle School Young Entrepreneur Show. This is one of the best events that I've attended in the entire year. So this was through the Engage program at Mount Allison, literally helping middle school children develop the basis of entrepreneurship. So each one of them had to start a business, and then they had a fair where they had to sell their business ideas. So Mr. Kelly Spurls and I went. I purchased several items. It was a really great experience and really positive to see some of the children talking so positively and enthusiastically about entrepreneurship. It was really, really, really well done. And I think that's it, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. I just want to add to the Legion banner partnership and the work of Mr. Zwicker, something that's noted in the report here, that this initiative is receiving interest from around Atlantic Canada and recently as far away as High Level, Alberta, where the town recently contacted Mr. Zwicker seeking direction on how to start a banner project of their own. And that was after Google returned Sackville as the #1 listing. So obviously it's carrying its way around, and it's very good, getting a lot of positive feedback in regards to that. And my family participated this year with putting our father on one of the banners, and it was ran really smoothly right through. So anybody who's interested, I know they were running out of space, so hopefully more space eventually will become available. Let's carry on here with. We were pleased to host Dr. Mike Fox, Rural and Small Towns Canada class to Town Hall on December 2nd, 2019. The town, in partnership with Mount Allison Experiential Learning Department, hosted a lunch and learn where the class presented their findings on rural economic development in Sackville. The project was funded by Future Ready New Brunswick. Pilot project aimed at examining the key factors that are necessary in a local ecosystem for business to develop, survive, and contribute in a small town. And I'm not sure if Mr. Burke wanted to add to that, but I know this was kind of a lunch and learn. I'm just kind of wondering, it seems like it's very pertinent information for our small town if they had ever planned at some point in time and actually doing something public and presenting what they're doing. I'm just kind of wondering if that's ever been discussed with them or.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Michaud. Absolutely. There's a lot of interest and enthusiasm at Mount A, particularly around their experiential learning department. And this is the first time we've actually kind of partnered on this type of initiative. And, you know, you start small, and we had a list of over 50 invitees from Opportunities New Brunswick to post-secondary education and training, you name it. So I think certainly there's definitely an opportunity in the future to open this up to the public and have them come in to hear the student presentations, no doubt about it.
One thing we'd like to remind is we want to continue to remind the businesses in Sackville, owners, operators, that registration is now open for the Sackville chapter of the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Moncton. Chamber will be kickstarting a reminder campaign early in the new year. So please, businesses, please take some time to kind of review this and reach out to the Moncton Chamber. I think it's a very important initiative for our community in order to get the business community engaged. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is regards to Renaissance Sackville. They met on December 4th, 2019. As council will recall, a motion passed in August suggested that if Renaissance received additional funding applications over the balance of 2019, they would be required to report and request such needs from council. And so there's a motion tonight to forward $8,300 for the purpose of supporting the 3 applications. And the applications are in the report, but I know there's some vagueness maybe on some of them, but I'm wondering if Mr. Burke could just comment on those 3, and then I'll have a motion if there's not any questions, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Michaud. So Renaissance Sackville met on December the 4th, and as you may recall from the August motion, Council only agreed to transfer the $11,500 to Renaissance at the time, which was basically enough to clear off their books to leave them a little bit of operational funding as well. So since then, they've had three new applications, all of which have now been adjudicated by Renaissance Sackville. So I guess I'm pleased to report they're all economic development related grants, and all seem to certainly get the support of the board, pending I guess a requirement to come back to council to formally request the money. So the first one was for Thunder and Lightning Ideas Limited, and the suggested grant from Renaissance would be $4,000. So that's basically a business expansion grant to allow Thunder and Lightning to develop a traveling cocktail bar. So this would be something that would be constructed, which would be able to be transported to private property to serve a variety of functions, events, et cetera. So it's a business expansion initiative from them to, as most people know, Thunder and Lightning is well established as has a very vibrant music scene every month of the year. So this would be a business expansion plan for them. So the funding specifically would help support the physical construction and the promotion of the mobile bar itself, where they'd be looking to employ local contractors here in Sackville, but also for some web design and graphic design to help promote the new business expansion plans. So that was the first one. The second one was community machinery, which was a suggested grant of $1,251.50. And this is really a revision of an application from 2018 where community machinery was awarded $2,600 overall. So what ended up happening is that the invoices came in for community machinery totaling the balance of what you see here. And what the business owner at the time was doing in terms of the requested grant was that there would be some money allocated towards professional development, so networking, establishing connections that would help grow the business, which, as we all know, is absolutely essential for a young entrepreneur. So that $1,251.50 is almost solely dedicated for professional and business development opportunities. So attending functions, travel to and from, per diems when they're there. So that was community machinery. And the last one is a suggested grant of $3,000, and that's to Downtown Digital. And this would be a downtown beautification project. As you know, Renaissance promotes a facade improvement program, and this would be specific to the building facade at 87 Main Street, which is Downtown Digital. So the $3,000 would help fund new signage and new awnings, similar to what you see at Birchwood Holdings across at the corner of Bridge and Main Street. So those were the 3 grants totaling $8,300.
That's it for the report. I do have motions.
Any questions on the report first?
Hearing none, motions?
I move that council authorize the transfer of $8,300 from the town's 2019 operational budget to Renaissance Sackville to support 3 grant applications as outlined in the Corporate Affairs and Strategic Development Report.
Moved by Councillor Michaud, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Question? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Evans?
I just, I want to thank Mr. Burke, first of all, for his articulate and elaborate explanation for this, but I just want to reemphasize that this is something that we asked Renaissance to do, that we approved all the grants that they had said yes to. These are the ones that they had been considering. We've asked them to prioritize business development. That's what they've done. And so I am happy to speak in favor of this motion. They're doing exactly what they asked us to do. They asked, no, exactly what we asked them to do. Right.
Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Michaud. I did not have any new business. No one else has new business? No? Then we are questions from the audience.
Bruce Warwick, Warwick Times. Quick factual question. I should know this, but I don't. Will the mayor, the deputy mayor, and councillors be receiving a cost of living pay adjustment for 2020? I thought that you got one every year.
Mr. Beal?
Yeah, in accordance with the bylaw regulating council remuneration, they receive 90% of the CPI for the province of New Brunswick every January 1st. Usually comes out mid-January and gets adjusted late January, early February.
Thank you. I have 3 questions arising from the mayor's apologies on November 12th and that were referred to again tonight by Merlin Estabrooks when he was asking you about the event that occurred on September 4th, 2018 outside the council chambers when he and Percy Best followed the Crandall consultant outside the council chambers to ask questions and to give the consultant some information. And the mayor was referring in his apology to a letter to the editor to the Tribune Post that described what I reported, what Katie Tower reported in the Sackville Tribune Post, and what Merlin Estabrooks himself said to council when he asked for an apology, and that was that that he felt it was rude and ignorant for Jamie Burke to interrupt a private conversation he was having with the consultant. That's what he said. That's what he meant by rude and ignorant. The mayor, describing the letter to the editor, said that it was a fabricated event. And then again, at the end of that apology, he said it was fabricated and false. Now, how can you say, Mr. Mayor, that that was a fabricated and false event when it has never been denied, and when you yourself, in replying to Mr. Estabrooks, when he asked for the apology from town council, said that Mr. Burke was doing his job when he interrupted that conversation? Why are you using the words fabricated and false to describe an event that no one has ever denied happened?
I'm missing the point of your question.
Well, what was fabricated and false about it? Was what I reported fabricated and false? Was what Merlin Estabrooks said fabricated and false? Was what the letter to the editor said fabricated? There's no fabrication and falsehood that I can see unless you can point it out for me. Well, and then I'd be glad to report what you say.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll do this in public because I think there's too many views floating around of what happened. And I think we'll ask the deputy mayor to walk through the process that he went through. And I think people will be able to see exactly what the results were and what may have been fabricated by who. Well, we'll do that in the public session. We're not going to do that right now.
I've already spoken to the deputy mayor. And I know what he found there. Second question, then. The mayor referred to an email that council received.
Correct.
In which the emailer said that DTI had a detailed alternative for flooding in the town that was far cheaper and more effective than the town's plans to go across the industrial park. That's the way you described it, Mr. Mayor. You also said that that was a complete and utter fabrication. There is no alternative at DTI. It does not exist and never has. Correct. And I'm wondering if the mayor is aware of a drawing made by Crandall Engineering clearly showing a new abattoir replacing the one behind Armtech, as well as lines representing ditches across the marshes to the abattoir west of Sackville in the Carters Brook area. Are you aware of that drawing?
We're aware that yes, I am.
How can you say
Well,
there never was an alternate plan?
Because I asked DTI if there was an alternate plan, and they said no, that this is the one we are working with the town on. I also said that there was more elements to it which you have not raised, which was that letter suggested there was collusion between our staff and the consultants engaging to drive up the prices of the fees for what I would call that a fabrication. So I'm not sure why you're focusing solely on that and not that element.
It's what I was able to find out that contradicted your statement that there never was an alternate plan.
That was exactly what the DTI staff said, no, we absolutely support everything that the town is doing. We have an open communication policy. We've been asked time and time, and we will give advice whenever we do. And we've even offered to try to help by clearing out the existing ditches if the request comes in.
Finally, you referred to a parcel of land that the town never did acquire, and you said, which the owner didn't reveal, had an environmental flag on it for probable contamination. I wonder if you investigated that before you said that, and if you're aware of documents showing that the property you referred to was cleared of any contamination some years ago. Or did you just say that? How did you know that?
It's a public flag on it, the property, yes.
There may be a flag, but flags never go away.
That's correct.
Yeah. They're there, but it doesn't mean that there is probable, those are your words, probable contamination.
Right. So there are a couple of questions that I have here. One is that I believe we spoke about it in two fronts. One was that the subsequent discussion around contaminated land may have well been better informed if some of those who were talking spoke more freely about some of their purchasing of land that had contamination. And I think that one of the elements that I saw was that we didn't get full disclosure on some of these things, and we had some of that material that we didn't put out in public. And I apologize that I think we need to be better than just saying, if we have information on some things, we chose to not release any of that information about that parcel, whatever the price was, whatever the contamination was, that we needed to be more open so people could see when someone talks about something, what they've actually said and done in a similar context. And I think that that community would be better off by that. So I apologize for suggesting that the town keep that information quiet and not talk about it. That's what I'm apologizing for, because I think we have a lot better discussions when people can see if they have better information from the type of due diligence that the town actually exercised which said we didn't do any, but we did. And we did it particularly where we saw evidence of egregious price and potential contamination.
Potential, not probable. I have a sheaf of documents showing that land is free of contamination. Anyway, thank you.
Any other questions?
I guess it's the issue that just won't die. The CCD TV recordings, what have you agreed to? Who are you going to show these to? Does the town have a policy on the use of these tapes?
Sorry, what are you, what?
Well, earlier in the session, person said he wanted to see the tapes again. He said yes, he could see them. I imagine that's okay under the privacy guidelines. But then he said there's other members of the public that wish to see it. So what have you agreed to? Who's going to see these? And does the town have a policy, a privacy policy, about the use and viewing of these tapes? It seems like we're getting it way outside of what's probably allowable under the, I believe it's the New Brunswick privacy guidelines.
Mr. Beal, can you comment on that? I don't know that we have a. Pardon me?
This isn't on. You're the one who agreed to the viewing of the tapes. What have you agreed to? Who's going to see them? And does the town have a policy?
I don't know. Can you answer that?
Well, I guess this is being discussed and commented on tonight. The mayor's made a comment about looking to host a meeting, parties that were involved. I don't know any more details than you've heard in terms of whether tapes on that incident can be seen publicly or private viewing or whatever. We would look to check with our tip in terms of the right to privacy and information and see what's appropriate and what's not to be appropriate in terms of being shown.
So the mayor said there's lots of people who wanted to see it and he was in favor of it, so he really can't until it's gone through. Do we have a policy or is it a provincial policy for the use of these tapes?
We follow our TIPA, which is provincial legislation around privacy of information, protection of information.
Okay. So the viewing of this by assorted parties in the investigation would have followed that policy, or was it just people looked at them?
I don't understand. I mean, when we looked at the.
Well, there was an investigation by the deputy mayor, and I understand part of it was viewing of these tapes.
Correct.
Did it follow the privacy policy then?
Yes, I mean, there are tapes for security and safety of our building. That's what they're there for, so they're reviewed by staff.
Okay, I'm pretty sure probably just any staff member can't look at them, but
No, that's
is it possible to have the provincial policy provided to the public or on the town website, just so they know? I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who aren't aware that when they're in this lobby that there is surveillance, so. And who's going to use them. Typically with surveillance tapes, it's a very small number of people who are allowed to use them, and it's a very narrow use of them. So I'm not quite sure the grounds that these tapes have been used. This wasn't a security incident, it's more like a person said this, another person, and you can't tell with no audio. But it just seems like we're into gray areas with these tapes, so.
So we'll check our TIPA, you are correct. It was shown to the complainants.
Yep.
And it was shown to them compared to what they described as well. So I'm not sure that it was sold to any, I take your question about whether there is a larger question if we go beyond the people who are immediately involved, yes. We did also show the press at their request. Mr. Wark said that we had removed his charter right to go out and talk to somebody in there, and we showed him the tape to suggest that maybe we did not do such a thing. And that was the purpose of that, so the journalists did see the tape as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question for the engineer. What I was wondering was, the last time when I was here, we were discussing something on Queens Road and how much it was costing to maintain it now. And I would like a breakdown of what we've spent on Queens Road in the last 10 years.
In reconstruction and.
In reconstruction or whatever we've done on Queens Road from where the government stopped to the hospital or to Lorne Street, whatever it is.
We'll have to
Yeah.
take some time to get that.
No, no,
so-
I understand that. That's what, and I would like it, call me when it's ready so I could at least get it.
So what, from where to where, Keith?
Well, from the old town line, where they stopped fixing the road coming up by my place.
Right.
They paved up to the old town line. And now from there to Lorne Street or wherever I don't know what they classify as Queens Road for reconstruction, but he said that we were spending a lot of money on reconstruction or on repairs. That's what I look at, is the repairs.
Is that possible to gather that information?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you misunderstood the question, though.
What do you mean? Well, that's.
We track water main breaks, we track sewer breaks.
Yeah.
And in that context was, we've had more water main breaks on Queens Road than any other street. But yeah, we give you that information, absolutely.
Okay.
No, that's.
I'm not sure where you're talking about the old town line.
Is that the exit, Westcock exit? Are you talking
No.
about?
No.
Out to Frosty Hall?
The Fairfield Road. From the Fairfield Road.
Oh.
Just past the Fairfield Road, that was the old town line at Harry Johnson's old house. Harry Johnson was in town, and Norman Estabrook was outside of town. I don't know what the civic addresses are, but.
Okay,
that
so
was-
Fairfield Road through to Queens.
Yeah.
Are you denying the condition of Queens Road? Is that what you're denying?
No.
Mr. Acton?
No. But I want to know what you spent all the money on that you're saying
Okay.
you're spending. That's what I'm asking.
So we'll get that 10 years of investment in that area.
Yeah.
We'll
No, I
gather
just-
that.
And I have a question for Michael Beal. Has the dog bylaw officer, or not bylaw officer, the dog catchers been issued for another year?
Contract renewal. for the dog.
Contract?
Yeah, the animal control contract automatically renews each year until a new tender or RFP has been issued. We have no direction to issue one at this point in time. But there is also a termination clause in there, so it would automatically renew on January 1st, and we pay on a monthly basis, so at any point in time, an RFP or tender could be put out relating to animal control.
Well, I asked you about it 2 years ago, and I asked you about it last year, and you said nobody made application for it. Well, I know there was at least 2 people that were interested in it and came in and made the applications or made it known that they were interested, and nothing happened with that.
We'll have discussion on it through finance and look at making a decision and advise early in the new year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Moved by Councilor Towers, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Motion is call for, sorry. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.